What's up guys, my name is Ryan, and the last decade I've been exploring our incredible planet, and I want to share with you my favorite places and experiences, so here's my real top 100. We truly live on such an incredible planet. From the wildlife of Africa to the enchanting landscapes of Europe, there's something worth discovering in every corner of our world. This video is a long one, so I've made timestamps so you can jump around to your favorite locations. Let's start this video off on the islands of French Polynesia. Located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, French Polynesia is the definition of tropical paradise. It's home to pristine beaches, lush mountains, and the clearest water you've ever seen. If you come to French Polynesia, you're first flying to Tahiti. It's the biggest island in the country, and it's home to one of the most famous waves in the world that is located just off the coast of the small village of Teahupo'o. Now, one of my favorite islands in French Polynesia is Moorea. It's located right next to Tahiti, and you can get there by either flying or taking a ferry. It's known as the Pearl of the Sea, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I particularly like Moorea's mountains. They are so jagged and unique looking. While we're still in French Polynesia, we're going to head to Bora Bora. Of all the islands in French Polynesia, Bora Bora is probably the most famous, and after visiting it, I totally understand why. The geography of Bora Bora is pure perfection. There's the main island with its towering, dormant volcano, and it's surrounded by this reef that protects the island from the waves of the Pacific Ocean. Inside the reef, there's a lagoon, which is home to some of the world's clearest water, and it's full of wildlife such as sharks and rays. We spent several days sailing around the island, and it was a phenomenal time. One of my favorite places in Bora Bora is at Southwest Lagoon. There's this sandbar there that creates for one of the most epic scenes with the volcano in the back. There was also some great snorkeling here. We went out on a little boat and were able to swim with some sharks. If you want to experience tropical paradise, you gotta give Bora Bora a visit. After, we're going to head to the country of New Zealand. I visited New Zealand earlier this year, and it quickly became one of my favorite countries. It's a land full of mountains like Switzerland, fjords like Norway, and landscapes straight out of Middle Earth. New Zealand consists of two main islands, the north and south. If you're down for more adventure and crazy landscapes, I'd say the South Island is where it's at. One of my favorite places I visited there was Wharariki Beach. You may recognize this place as one of your desktop screensavers. It's this incredibly scenic beach with rock arches set in the sea. To reach it, it was a beautiful 15-minute walk, and when we got to the beach, I was blown away by the beauty of this place. If you're more into mountains, you gotta visit Mount Cook. It's New Zealand's tallest mountain with a height of 3,724 meters. The drive to Mount Cook is arguably one of the most scenic in the world, since you have views of the Southern Alps coupled with the glacier blue water of Lake Bukaki. One of the best vantage points of Mount Cook is from Hooker Lake. It's a 10-kilometer trail that takes you right at the base of the mountain. The trail was amazing, and I love walking on the bridges that cross the glacial river. When we got to Hooker Lake, it was possibly the windiest place I've ever been. The wind was blowing so hard, it almost blew my wife away. Now, while we're still in New Zealand, we're going to visit one of the world's wonders, the Milford Sound. Located in the Fiordland National Park, the Milford Sound is possibly the most famous place in all of New Zealand, and after exploring it, I understand why. The Milford Sound is pretty isolated, and the closest town is Te Anau, which is about 2 hours drive to get there. The road is one of the most beautiful I've ever been on. The scenery reminds me of the fjords of Norway, but slightly more tropical. We saw some kia birds, which are the only alpine parrots in the world. They were seriously so beautiful. Once we arrived at the Milford Sound, we got on a boat that took us on a tour of the famous fjord. The views on the front of the boat were amazing as we headed into the fjord. The scale of this place is insane. The mountain walls rise straight up thousands of feet high. We came across several waterfalls cascading into the sound. Now, after the boat tour, I really enjoyed just walking around the sound. There were some nice trails, and I liked this little coastal area that had smooth rocks and really unique vegetation that lined the shore. It was just so calming to watch the little waves roll in. While we're still down under, we're going to head to Australia to visit the island of Tasmania. After we were in New Zealand, we spent some time road tripping across Tasmania, and I was amazed at the beauty of this island. The main reason I wanted to go to Tasmania was to see the wombats in their natural habitat. Now, to see them, we went to this area around Cradle Mountain, and this place was called Ronnie Creek. We could walk on these raised walkways, and there were several wombats grazing. It was just so peaceful to watch them munch on the grass. While we're still in Australia, we're going to visit one of my favorite places in the world, Lord Howe Island. Located in the Tasman Sea between Australia and New Zealand, you can reach Lord Howe Island by taking a 2-hour flight from Sydney. The island is just insanely beautiful. It's called the Hawaii of Australia, and after visiting it, I understand why. There can only be 400 tourists on the island at a time, and another interesting fact about Lord Howe is that it's the largest island ever to eradicate all its rats, which in turn has allowed the birds and wildlife to flourish here. One of the main reasons I wanted to go to Lord Howe Island was to visit Ball's Pyramid. It's the tallest sea stack in the world with a height of 572 meters. It's one of the wildest rock formations I've ever seen as it sits alone in the desolate ocean. Now to get to Ball's Pyramid, it was about an hour boat ride from Lord Howe Island. We boated around the entire sea stack, and I was just baffled by the scale of this place. I felt like Jack Sparrow discovering a treacherous island. After exploring Ball's Pyramid, we headed back to Lord Howe Island and got some incredible views on the way. While we were on Lord Howe, we had bikes to get around and we did some great hikes. One of my favorites was Malabar Kims. There were some incredible views of the sea cliffs, and then we walked on this ridge and got an amazing view of the whole island. And this place is paradise. Now for sunset, I love going down to Lagoon Beach to watch the sun light up the mountains of Lord Howe. Places don't get more perfect than this island. After, we're going to head to Africa to visit Tanzania. I went to Tanzania over a year ago, and it was one of the most memorable trips of my life. From witnessing herds of millions of wildebeest roaming the savannah to Africa's highest mountain, Tanzania is one of the world's greatest wonders. One of the most iconic places in Tanzania is the Serengeti. It's one of the best places on earth to see Africa's wildlife. From leopards chilling in trees to cheetahs roaming the savannah, the Serengeti is the Lion King in real life. While we were there, we went on game drives every day, and we were able to witness so many incredible moments, whether it was watching 2 lionesses enjoying the sunset or witnessing the endless herds of wildebeest. The most memorable moment was when we escaped a massive thunderstorm, and we were able to watch these zebras grazing, accompanied by massive thunderbolts and the craziest sunset I've ever seen in my life. Now besides the Serengeti, my other favorite place in Tanzania is Doinyo Lengai. It's located near Lake Natron, and it's an active volcano with a height just under 3,000 meters, and it's known by the local tribes as the Mountain God. And after scaling it, I totally understand why it has that name. So we decided we wanted to climb the volcano, so we started at midnight, and I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it ended up being the hardest hike of my life. But right around 6 a.m., we made it to the top, and the sun started to climb over the horizon, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. I was standing on the volcano's rim, and the crater was absolutely huge. It had this black bubbling lava inside, and it's said to be some of the coldest lava in the world. The volcano was just so loud, you could hear the earth groaning, and it sounded like a thunderstorm. As I walked to the other side, I got one of my all-time favorite shots as I was standing on the volcano's rim overlooking the scenery below. It reminded me of the quote in Lion King where Mufasa says to Simba, "Everything the light touches is our kingdom." It was one of the most powerful views I've ever seen in my life. Our guide Elijah recommended that we headed back after spending about 2 hours on the top to avoid the midday sun. The trek was beautiful on the way down. When we reached our car, it was about noon, so it took us 12 hours in total. Even though it was one of the hardest physical challenges I've ever done, it was hands down one of my all-time favorite travel experiences. After, we're going to head to Namibia. I spent a few weeks road tripping across Namibia this year, and it was an absolute adventure. One of my favorite places we visited was Devli. It's this clay pan with dried tree skeletons that are believed to have died 700 years ago. There used to be a river in the area, but it dried up and the trees eventually died. And since the area is so dry, the trees have decomposed and remained frozen in time. I mean, it was just so surreal to walk amongst these ancient trees. Now overlooking the Devli is the Big Daddy Sand Dune. It's the tallest dune in the Sossusvlei area with a height of 325 meters. I wanted to hike to the top of it. We began by walking along the ridge of the dune next to Devli, and we were able to get views of the clay pan. As we got closer to Big Daddy, I was just amazed by the scale of the dune. After about an hour and a half of hiking, we made it to the top. We had the most incredible 360 view of the Namibia desert, and the landscapes just seemed to go on forever. After relaxing up here for about 30 minutes, we did the fun part of the hike and walked down the dune, and it's the weirdest sensation. It feels like you're bouncing on the hot sand. While we almost got heat struck on the adventure, it was easily one of my favorite experiences from our time in Namibia. Another one of the most iconic places in Namibia is Sandwich Harbor. It's where the Namib Desert meets the Atlantic Ocean. To get here, you basically need to go with an experienced driver since you're navigating through deep sand the whole time. I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking driving on the dunes, but it was such an adrenaline rush. My favorite place in Sandwich Harbor was this lookout that gave us a perfect view of the dunes against the Atlantic Ocean. Now, my favorite thing that we did in Namibia was witnessing the desert elephants. There's only a few desert elephants in Namibia, and they have adapted to live in the harsh conditions of the desert. To see them, we went deep into the remote region of Damaraland, and after an hour of tracking, our guide found a herd of 14 elephants. We spent the next few hours just observing them, and it was one of my favorite wildlife experiences I've ever had. Namibia's landscapes and wildlife are truly on another level. After, we're going to head to the opposite side of the world to visit the Faroe Islands. I visited these incredible islands last year and became one of my favorite places I've ever been. The Faroe Islands are located between Iceland and Norway, and they're home to some of the most dramatic and epic landscapes in the world. It's basically the scenery from the movie How to Train Your Dragon, but in real life. One of the main reasons I wanted to go here was to see the Dringanir Sea Stack. You can either get there by taking a guided 6-hour hike, or you can also go on a boat ride. I decided to take the quick boat ride, and I had a incredible time exploring the area and marveling at the one-of-a-kind sea stack. Nearby is the Milford Sound waterfall. It's one of the most scenic waterfalls I've ever seen as it cascades down into the sea. Another incredible place is Kalsoy. It's this narrow island, and I had to take a ferry to get onto it. At the end of Kalsoy, there's this lighthouse perched on these massive sea cliffs. It was easily one of the most epic places I've ever been. Nothing quite matches the landscapes of the Faroe Islands. After, we're going to head to the country of Iceland. Known as the land of fire and ice, Iceland is easily one of the most beautiful countries in Europe and the world. With volcanic landscapes, endless waterfalls, and gigantic glaciers, Iceland is home to some of the most incredible places on Earth. Probably the most well-known region in the country is southern Iceland. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to get here from Reykjavik, and there's just so many attractions and beautiful places. One of the most well-known spots is Skógafoss. It's probably the most iconic waterfall in the country. Its drop is 60 meters high, and the power of the falls is insane. Now, one of my favorite destinations in the area is Reynisfjall Black Sand Beach. It's this incredible coastline that stretches a few kilometers to the west. The sand is so black and unique. My favorite feature of the beach is the Reynisdrangar rock formations. There are these jagged sea stacks that jut out of the sea with constant waves pounding on them. One of my personal favorite places in Iceland is its highlands. It's located in the interior of the country, and it's an extremely unique region home to otherworldly landscapes. One of the most impressive places is Landmannalaugar. It's home to rainbow-colored mountains, and there's a good amount of volcanic activity in the area with tons of thermales shooting out steam. I mean, Iceland just has so many incredible places to explore. After, we're going to head to Norway to visit the Lofoten Islands. Lofoten is located in northern Norway, and even though it's in the Arctic Circle, it feels like you're on a tropical island with all the incredible beaches and fairly mild weather. We were here last summer, and the scenery was next level. One of my favorite places is the fishing village of Henningsvar. It's built on a few islands, and it's home to one of the most scenic soccer fields in the world. One of the best beaches on the islands is Keflavik. It's a decent hike down to the beach, but you're rewarded with some of the most incredible scenery. We came here for sunset, and it was one of the best I've experienced. If you're into hiking, the trek to Reinabringen is worthwhile. It's probably the most famous hike in the Lofoten Islands. Now, to get to the top, we had to climb nearly 2,000 stone steps. You get a perfect panoramic view of the fjord, villages, and sea mountains. If you come during the months of June and July, this is an insane place to experience the midnight sun. We stayed up here for a good hour enjoying the sunset and otherworldly views. If you're in Lofoten and are able to hike, you gotta come experience the scenery of Reinabringen. After, we're gonna head to the Greek islands to visit Milos. If you love whitewashed houses and crystal clear waters and just Greek vibes, you're gonna love Milos. One of the most famous places on the island is Serengeti Beach. It's home to white volcanic landscapes, and there's so many places to cliff jump. There's this iconic ledge that is a perfect place to do some dives and jumps into the sea. Another impressive place on Milos is Kleftiko. I mean, I was just so freaking stoked to be here. I've wanted to come to Kleftiko for years now, and the beauty lived up to the hype. Now, my favorite place we went to in Milos was Sikia Cave. I mean, this place was just absolutely insane. I'm not sure how it exactly formed, but it looks like it was once a massive sea cave and the ceiling collapsed, leaving this perfect circle in the landscape. I was just so freaking hyped to be here. I mean, it's one of the most incredible places I've ever seen. There's a little beach that some people would ride up their dinghies to land on, and then they could explore the cave. I mean, the water was just some of the clearest I've ever experienced, and the boulders in the water created for one of the most beautiful settings I've ever came across. It felt like we were in a giant fishbowl or something. The water was a little bit chilly, but it was so fun to swim around in here. I've been to some pretty beautiful places, but this one just really stands out. After, we're going to visit another one of my favorite Greek islands, Zakynthos. I've been here 3 times now, and I just keep wanting to come back. It's one of the most impressive locations I've ever been. From 1,000-foot white cliffs to the bluest water you've ever seen, Zakynthos has it all. The most famous place in Zakynthos is Shipwreck Beach. Back in the 1980s, a cargo ship from Turkey was carrying illegal contraband, and the Greek Navy chased them into this cove where it crashed. Over the years, the sand has built up around the ship and has created one of the most visually stunning locations in the world. You can boat into the beach, or you can also get a great view of it from the cliffs above. Another stunning place in Zakynthos is Mazithres. It's this massive rock formation on the Aegean, and you get a nice view of it from the nearby cliffs. We came here for sunset, and the sea was pretty rough, which turned up the water, giving it a milky color. It was such an amazing landscape, with a setting sun coupled with the greens of the pines and blues of the water. Greece's islands are some of the most spectacular on earth. After, we're going to visit Slovenia. Of all the countries in Europe, I don't think there's a more compact country that offers just about every landscape you expect to find in Europe. From the capital city of Ljubljana, you can drive 1 hour and either be in the Alps or down by the Adriatic Sea. I spent some time there this year, and it quickly became one of my favorite European countries. One of the most famous places in Slovenia is Lake Bled. It's a picturesque lake with an island that has a scenic church built on it. One of my favorite places I visited Slovenia was the River Socha. It's this incredibly clean river with clear turquoise water, and I had such a fun time swimming in it and riding down the current as I floated in the water. If you want to experience some of Slovenia's coastline, you can visit Piran. It's a lovely city on the Adriatic Sea. Afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby country of Croatia. From the incredible scenery of the Dalmatian coast to medieval seaside towns, Croatia is one of Europe's hidden gems. One of the most iconic places in Croatia is Dubrovnik. Located in the southernmost part of Croatia, Dubrovnik is this incredible medieval city built right on the Adriatic Sea. One of my favorite things that I did during my time in Dubrovnik was walking on top of the city walls. You're able to loop the entire city and experience Dubrovnik from a new perspective. Another impressive place in Croatia is Plitvice Lakes National Park. I remember seeing pictures of this place years ago, and I've been wanting to see them in person ever since. The area is renowned for its crystal clear terraced lakes that are connected by beautiful waterfalls. If you want to experience one of Croatia's unique islands, I really enjoyed Dugi Otok. It's one of Croatia's longest islands, and it's home to the tallest lighthouse in the Adriatic Sea. One of my favorite features of the island was the Teleščica Nature Park. Their area had a bay full of islands, and then there were these impressive sea cliffs. I mean, just such a unique place. Afterwards, we're going to head over to Lake Como. Located at the base of the Alps, Lake Como is a sight to see. Known for its picturesque scenery and luxury villas, Lake Como has been named one of the world's most beautiful lakes, and I totally understand why. One of my favorite places on the lake is Varena. It was founded in 1769 by local fishermen. We stayed here several nights, and it was such an enjoyable time. I loved exploring the town through all the cobblestone alleyways. One of my favorite places in Varena was its northern shore. There's restaurants and a little stone beach where you can watch small waves roll in. One of my favorite things that I did was enjoy the sunset on the docks. This place truly is incredible. After, we're going to visit the Italian Dolomites. I spent several weeks exploring these mountains, and I consider it to be some of the greatest days of my life. The Dolomites are home to jagged peaks, scenic alpine lakes, and fairy tale villages. One of my favorite mountains in the Dolomites is Seseda. It's one of the most uniquely shaped mountains I've ever seen. To get there, you take up a gondola, and once you're up at the top, you can walk around. The mountain doesn't even look real, and it's often covered by clouds. There's this one spot that I particularly like that has flowers that bloom and gives a really cool view of the mountain. Another one of my favorite places in the Dolomites is Alpe di Suisse. It's the largest alpine meadow in Europe, and the scenery here is straight out of Middle Earth. There's all these little mountain huts, and I'm jealous of all the farmers who own them. Now, to get to Alpe di Suisse, I drove to the town of Compaccio, and from there we walked to the famous viewpoint. The day I was there, the famous Sassolungo mountain was covered in clouds, but regardless, the scenery was amazing. After, we're going to visit the land of the rising sun, Japan. From the snow-covered island of Hokkaido to the Japanese Alps, this little island country has so much to offer. Now, when you get to Japan, you can visit Tokyo. It's the largest city in the world with a population over 37 million. From Tokyo, you can venture about an hour and a half outside to visit Mount Fuji. The active volcano is the tallest peak in Japan with a height of 12,388 feet. It's a perfect cone shape and acts as a sacred symbol for the country. A great place to view Mount Fuji from is Lake Kawaguchi. You can get a wonderful view of the volcano from there, and overall it's just a beautiful area. Nearby is the Cherito Pagoda, which offers one of the most incredible views of the sacred volcano. Another incredible place in Japan is Okinawa. It's a set of islands located between mainland Japan and Taiwan. It's home to some of the clearest water I've ever seen. One thing interesting about Okinawa is it's one of the world's 5 blue zones, which are places where the people live extra long thanks to many factors like diet, low stress, and just a good balance in life. I mean, I can see why people live longer here just by the beauty of this place. I particularly love the Karama Islands. There's not as many buildings as mainland Okinawa, and there's so much natural beauty and pristine beaches here. After, we're going to visit Vietnam. Situated in Southeast Asia, Vietnam is an adventure and backpacker's paradise. One of the most impressive places in the country is Ban Giac Falls. It's located in the northern part of Vietnam, straddling the Chinese border. Ban Giac is the biggest waterfall in Southeast Asia. I mean, the scenery here is absolutely insane with the iconic karst mountains in the background. Another amazing spot in Vietnam is Ha Long Bay. Located in the Gulf of Tonkin, Ha Long Bay is this incredible area. Probably the best way to experience Ha Long Bay is by taking a cruise. It can be just a few hours, but I recommend at least doing an overnight one so you can witness Ha Long Bay during sunrise and sunset. Now, one of my personal favorite places in Vietnam is the tea fields of Long Coc. It's one of the most picturesque places I've ever seen, with dome-shaped hills covered in perfectly manicured tea fields. If you're looking for adventure, one thing you can do in Vietnam is the Ha Giang Loop. It's a several-day motorcycle route that takes you through the mountains of northern Vietnam. I mean, the scenery is absolutely insane. I mean, it looks like something you would find in a Dr. Seuss book. Definitely something to add to your bucket list. After, we're going to visit the incredible country of Nepal. Nicknamed the roof of the world, Nepal is home to 8 mountains that are over 8,000 meters high, including the world's tallest, Mount Everest. If you do visit Nepal, you'll probably fly into the city of Kathmandu. It's a bustling city surrounded by the Himalaya Mountains, famous for its temples and monasteries. One thing I want to do someday is hike to Everest Base Camp. You can start by flying into the Lukla airport and then take about 2 weeks to make the round-trip journey. Another popular hiking trail you can go on is the Annapurna Circuit. The length of the route can vary depending on where you start, but it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to complete. One of my favorite places on the trek is the Chilicho Lake. It's one of the highest lakes in Nepal with an elevation of 4,919 meters. If you want to see some of Nepal's wildlife, I think Chitwan National Park is one of the best places to go. Located about a 5 hours drive from Kathmandu, Chitwan National Park is home to animals such as tigers, elephants, and sloth bears. One of my favorite animals of the park is the Indian rhinoceros. There are about 500 that live there, and I think they're such peculiar creatures. After, we're going to head over to India. From the coast of Goa to the Himalayan mountains, India is possibly one of the most diverse countries on earth when it comes down to its variety of culture, landscapes, and wildlife. It's the only place on earth where there's lions, tigers, and bears. One of the most recognizable places in India is the Taj Mahal. Now, when I think of India, the Taj Mahal almost always comes to mind. It was completed in the year 1653 and took over $1 billion adjusted for inflation to complete. It was built by the Mughal emperor at the time as a place to house the tomb of his favorite wife. It just blows my mind that this was created almost 400 years ago. Today it stands as a symbol for India and receives over 6 million visitors a year. Another intriguing destination in India is Varanasi. Located on the Ganges River, Varanasi is one of the most religious and sacred sites in India, as it serves as a central place for many traditions in the Hindu religion. It's one of the oldest continually inhabited cities, dating back almost 4,000 years. I mean, the history and culture here is just on another level. Truly is an incredible place to experience. I'm also very interested in India's Himalayas. One of my favorite regions in the Himalayas is Spiti. It's known as the middle land between India and Tibet. One of my favorite monasteries in the region is the Key Monastery. It's the biggest monastery in the area and is located at an elevation of 4,166 meters. It's believed to have been founded in the 11th century. In this region, there's also the Chandratal, which is this beautiful high-altitude lake. After, we're going to head to southern India to visit the Western Ghats. Located on the southwestern coast of the Indian Peninsula, the Western Ghats are a massive mountain range that stretch 1,600 kilometers and are older than the Himalayas. It's known for being one of the most biodiverse places in the world and is home to thousands of wildlife species. I mean, I just love how incredibly lush the mountains are. I mean, it's a shade of green I've never seen before. Now, one of my favorite places in the Western Ghats is the Devkund waterfall. It's located in the northern region of the mountain range, and it's this incredible waterfall. And during monsoon season, there's multiple streams cascading into the valley below. A beautiful place to experience India's coast is Goa. Located between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, I think Goa is home to some of India's best beaches. Mopar Beach is a nice town in southern Goa, and there's kilometers of beaches that stretch up the coastline. If you love animals, and particularly tigers, you can visit Ranthambore National Park. Located in Rajasthan, Ranthambore is one of the best places in the world to see Bengal tigers in their natural habitat. You can go on a safari to try to spot these majestic beasts. Both winter and summer months are ideal for seeing tigers, especially in the summer when a lot of the animals gather around the waterholes. Aside from tigers, other animals such as leopards and sloth bears live in the park. It's like the Jungle Book in real life. After, we're going to visit Sri Lanka. Located right below India, Sri Lanka is a lush island country and it's home to an amazing coastline and offers some of the best places to go on a safari in Asia. One of the most recognizable places on Sri Lanka is Sigiriya or Lion Rock. It's this massive monolith that sticks out of the landscape, and on top of it there's an ancient fortress that was built here in the 5th century AD. Another iconic attraction in Sri Lanka is its trains. The Nine Arches Bridge is one of the most famous spots. It reminds me of the Glenfinnan Viaduct in Scotland. After, we're going to visit the country of Bangladesh. Almost completely surrounded by India, Bangladesh is a lush and vibrant country full of natural beauty and culture. The capital city of the country is Dhaka. Its old town is one of the most chaotic and wild places I've seen. If you want to see some of Bangladesh's nature, the Chittagong Hill Tracts offer some incredible landscapes with its lush rolling hills. One of my favorite places is the Jiuzhaigou Valley, which is this beautiful area nestled deep in the mountains of Bangladesh. If you want to see the coast, Cox's Bazar is home to the world's longest natural beach with a length of 155 kilometers. Another interesting place in Bangladesh is St. Martin Island. It's a small coral island located in the Bay of Bengal, and you can only reach it by boat from Bangladesh's mainland. It's quite an interesting place and has some decent beaches, especially for Bangladesh. After, we're going to visit the country of Pakistan. I think this is another one of the most underrated countries in the world. Pakistan is an incredibly diverse place, stretching from the Arabian Sea all the way to the Himalayan mountains. I particularly love the north of Pakistan, and the mountains here are otherworldly. A fascinating place in the north is Fairy Meadows. It's this beautiful area shadowed over by Nanga Parbat, which is the 9th tallest mountain in the world at 8,125 meters. One of the most adventurous things you can do in Pakistan is make the trek to K2 base camp. The trek takes about 2 weeks to complete as you hike over 180 kilometers. On the way, you're surrounded by some of the world's most epic mountains. One of my favorite places along the journey is the Concordia base camp. You get an incredible view of K2, which is the 2nd tallest mountain in the world with a height of 8,611 meters. While the trek is long and challenging, you won't find views like this anywhere else in the world. Afterwards, we're going to head to Afghanistan. While Afghanistan has a difficult history, and it may not be the easiest place to travel, I think Afghanistan is one of the most misunderstood and underrated countries in the world when it comes to its natural beauty and history. A beautiful place in Afghanistan is Band-i-Amir. In 2009, it was made Afghanistan's first national park, and it's home to several lakes with insanely blue water. There's some cool rocks and overlooks that you can walk out to. Who would have thought places like this existed in Afghanistan? Another fascinating place is the Minaret of Jam. It was built in the year 1190 AD, and it stands at a height of about 65 meters tall. At the time of its completion, I'm sure it was one of the tallest structures in the world. The brickwork around the minaret is just insane. There is a slight lean in the tower, and many fear that the minaret could collapse anytime. To me, it looks like the Tower of Isengard from Lord of the Rings. Anyways, Afghanistan is home to so many historical treasures very few outsiders have seen. Afterwards, we're going to head to South America to visit Angel Falls. Located in Venezuela, Angel Falls is known as the tallest waterfall in the world with a height of 979 meters. It's just absolutely insane. To reach Angel Falls, you can fly into the town of Canimba, and from there, you take a boat trip up the river to reach the falls. While it's not an easy journey, the falls and just overall scenery of this place are more than worth it. Another one of the most incredible places in Venezuela is Monte Roraima. It's another tepui like Angel Falls, and it's the inspiration behind the landscapes of the Pixar film Up. The scenery here is like you're on another planet. Now, it's possible to climb to the top of the tepui, but it takes around 3 days, so it's not an easy journey. Another incredible thing about Venezuela is that you have an amazing Caribbean coastline with some tropical islands. Los Roques is one of my favorites. It's an archipelago in the Caribbean with over 300 islands, and it can be reached by plane. Venezuela truly has some of the best scenery in the world, and I hope things can improve for the country so it's easier to travel to. Afterwards, we're going to visit the neighboring country of Colombia. When it comes to landscape diversity, Colombia has so much to offer. An interesting city in Colombia is Cartagena. It was founded by the Spanish in 1533, and it's one of the oldest colonial cities in South America. It has a European vibe that is prevalent today. If you head out to Colombia's Caribbean, you can visit the island of San Andres. That's actually closer to Nicaragua than it is to Colombia. It has pristine waters, and it's full of typical landscapes you expect to find in the Caribbean. If you head into Colombia's mainland, one amazing place is Guatape. It's this lake full of islands, and there's this massive granite rock called Piedra del Peno that you can climb up. Afterwards, we're going to head into the Amazon rainforest. If you look at the Amazon from space, you can see it's this massive green area in northern South America. The Amazon extends into countries such as Peru and Colombia, but 60% of the Amazon rainforest is in Brazil. An interesting fact about the Amazon is that it's home to the largest collection of animals and plants in the world. From pink river dolphins to scarlet macaws, the Amazon is home to so many creatures, and it also makes me wonder what other undiscovered animals remain hidden in the vast rainforest. After, we're going to visit Lençois Maranhenses. Located in northeastern Brazil, Lençois Maranhenses is one of the most unique landscapes in all of South America. It sees almost endless array of sand dunes that fill up with Caribbean blue lagoons during the rainy season. You may recognize this landscape from the planet Vormir in the Avengers movie. The best time to visit the dunes is from June to September. This is when the lagoons are full and the sun isn't as strong. You can explore the dunes on a guided tour, or you can also rent ATVs or go horseback riding to explore this otherworldly place. After, we're going to visit the Galapagos Islands. Located right on the equator, the Galapagos Islands are a volcanic archipelago made up of 21 islands. They were first discovered in the 16th century and later popularized by Charles Darwin, who studied the island's unique endemic animal species. Some of my favorite animals on the island are the marine iguanas and the blue-footed birds. After, we're going to Peru to visit Machu Picchu. Nestled in the Andes Mountains, Machu Picchu stands as one of the most incredible archaeological sites in the world. It was built around 1450 AD by the Incans and is believed to have been constructed as an estate for the emperor at the time. Machu Picchu was abandoned in the year 1572, probably due to the nearby Spanish conquest, and many people may have gotten smallpox. The citadel was overgrown by the forest and it remained hidden until 1911 when it was rediscovered by the explorer Hiram Bingham. Today, Machu Picchu is one of the world's most well-known archaeological sites. To reach it, you can hike there or you can also take a train. Another interesting place in Peru is Cocteau Falls. It's one of the biggest waterfalls in South America and the world, with a height of 771 meters. Due to its location and remoteness, it was undiscovered from the outside world until 2002. It makes you wonder what other places like this are yet to be discovered around the world. After, we're going to venture to Easter Island. Also known as Rapa Nui, Easter Island is located over 3,000 kilometers off the coast of Chile, making it one of the world's most remote places. It's believed that the island was settled around the year 1200 AD by Polynesians who sailed from French Polynesia. What makes the island so mysterious and famous is its moai statues. There are over 900 moai on the island, with the tallest reaching over 10 meters high with a weight of over 80 tons. It's a mystery how the statues were transported, but it's believed that logs were used to move the moai across the island. After, we're going to head down to Patagonia. Located in both bottom halves of Chile and Argentina, Patagonia is easily one of the most beautiful regions in the world. It has fjords like Norway, sounds like New Zealand, and mountains comparable to the Alps. One of the most famous places in Patagonia is Torres del Paine. Located on the Chilean side of Patagonia, Torres del Paine is a national park home to animals such as guanacos and pumas, and it's named after its three iconic granite towers. Another one of the most well-known places is Fitzroy. It's this mountain range located on the Argentinian side of Patagonia, and I think it's possibly one of the most beautiful mountains in the world. Afterwards, we're going to head down to Antarctica. Now, there's a few ways to reach Antarctica, but one of the most popular ways is to leave from the bottom of South America from ports such as Ushuaia and make the 2-day boat journey through the Drake Passage until you reach the Antarctica Peninsula. Once you reach Antarctica, we're rewarded with some of the most insane landscapes, from seals resting on floating glaciers to massive penguin colonies. Antarctica is a fascinating place to experience. When people go to Antarctica, they mostly stay along the coast, but there are some airplanes that land on runways on Antarctica's interior, and it's pretty wild to witness planes landing and taking off on fields of ice. The interior of Antarctica is also full of some really peculiar shaped mountains. Afterwards, we're going to head to the island of South Georgia. Located in the South Atlantic Ocean, South Georgia is a British overseas territory and it was first discovered in 1675. Now, to reach South Georgia, there are some expeditions that stop by the island on their way before or after going to Antarctica. Now, what I love about South Georgia is the wildlife. There are thousands and thousands of birds and seals that call this island home. I especially love the king penguins. There's an estimated 100,000 breeding pairs here. I mean, such a wonder to see. After, we're going to head back to Africa to visit Cape Town. If you love ocean and mountainous landscapes, you're in luck because Cape Town has them both. Located in South Africa, almost at the very bottom of the continent, Cape Town is one of the most incredible coastal cities. One of my favorite features of Cape Town is Lion's Head. It's this wizard hat shaped peak that you can hike to the very top of. One of the best beaches in Cape Town is Camps Bay. The water may be a little bit chilly here, but it offers spectacular scenery all around. After, we're going to venture to Botswana to experience the Okavango Delta. Located in the northern part of the country, the The Okavango Delta is this massive seasonal swamp that can be seen from space. The area gets flooded and reaches its peak water levels during the summer months. Due to the influx of water, animals come from all over, and it creates for one of Africa's greatest wildlife concentrations. From elephants wandering through chest-deep water to red lake-way antelope running through the swamps, it's just incredible how much wildlife exists in the Okavango Delta. One of the best ways to experience it is by taking a boat and wandering through the endless canals and lagoons, marveling at all the wildlife. Afterwards, we're going to visit the island of Madagascar. After Indonesia, Madagascar is the largest island country in the world. One thing unique about Madagascar is that 90% of its plants and animal species are found nowhere else on Earth. One of the most famous places in Madagascar is the Baobab Avenue. It's this dirt street lined with grandidier's baobab trees that are over 30 meters tall and almost 3,000 years old. Aside from the baobab trees, Madagascar has some amazing places. The highlands of Madagascar are particularly fascinating to me. The Anja Community Reserve is this area where there's these huge granite mountains with beautiful agriculture fields below. Andringitra National Park is also another stunning place with more beautiful granite mountains. If you love the coast, Madagascar has some amazing beaches and islands. One of the most famous is Nosy Iranja. It's located on the northwest tip of the island, and it has this sandbar that leads to a smaller island when the tide is low. After, we're going to head to Uganda to visit the Rwenzori Mountains. When you think of Uganda, maybe green hills and animals come to mind, but it's also home to one of the most incredible mountain ranges in Africa. Located right in the border between Uganda and the Congo is the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountains. It's home to the third highest peak in Africa, called Mount Stanley, that has an elevation of 5,109 meters. Now, the area is also known as the Mountains of the Moon, and it's the source of the Nile River. The vegetation here is just so bizarre. It starts off as a rainforest, and as you scale higher, the vegetation changes drastically until you reach the snow-capped peak of Mount Stanley. I mean, who would have thought Uganda would have so much snow? Another amazing thing you can do in Uganda is go trekking to see the mountain gorillas. More than half of the world's mountain gorillas live in Uganda's national parks, and you can go on a gorilla trek through the rainforest and hopefully come across a family of gorillas relaxing in their natural habitat. Afterwards, we're going to venture into the heart of darkness down the Congo River. Located between the countries of the Congo and the DRC, the Congo River is the second longest in Africa after the Nile, and it's the deepest river in the world with depths more than 700 feet. Traveling through the Congo isn't for the faint of heart, but there are some companies that offer river cruise expeditions that go up and explore the Congo River for several weeks. While you're in this part of the world, you can head to the neighboring country of Central African Republic to visit the Zangabai, or Village of Elephants. Located deep in the Congo Basin rainforest, there is a small clearing made by forest elephants. The elephants particularly love the soil here because it's full of nutrients like salt and minerals, and anywhere from 50 to more than 100 elephants arrive each day to enjoy the bai. There's also a lot of other animals that come to enjoy the area, such as the rare bongo antelope. I mean, it's such a magical spot to witness some of Africa's wildlife. After, we're going to visit the somewhat close country of São Tomé and Príncipe. Located in the Atlantic Ocean in the Gulf of Guinea, São Tomé is an island country made up of two main islands. It was uninhabited until it was discovered in 1470 by Portuguese explorers, and today it's the second smallest and one of the least visited countries in Africa. My favorite feature of the island is the Pico Cal Grande. It's a volcanic formation that rises 370 meters from the surrounding terrain. The landscapes of this country is insane. It's such a lush island full of raw beauty. Afterwards, we're going to head to Ethiopia. Known as the cradle of humanity, I think Ethiopia has some of the most fascinating history and landscapes on Earth. It was one of the only African countries that wasn't colonized by Europe. Today, it's one of the most populated landlocked countries on Earth, which I find pretty fascinating. One of the most peculiar places in Ethiopia is Dalo. Located in the northeastern part of Ethiopia, Dalo is considered one of the hottest places on Earth with an average temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. It's a truly barren wasteland with virtually no living life. One of my favorite features of Dalo is its colorful hydrothermal pools. They are striking yellow, orange, and green colors. Nearby Dalo is the Erta Al volcano. Known locally as the Gateway to Hell, Erta Al is home to the longest existing lava lake that has been there for over 100 years. Another one of my favorite places in Ethiopia is the Simien Mountains. They are home to the highest point in Ethiopia. Now, one of my favorite features of the Simien Mountains is its wildlife. They are home to the Kalada baboon, also known as the bleeding heart monkey, which can only be found in the Ethiopia highlands. I mean, it's just such an interesting part of Africa. Afterwards, we're going to head to the country of Chad. Located in northern Africa between Niger and Sudan, I think Chad is home to some of the Sahara's most interesting rock formations and scenery. One of the most intriguing places is the Anidi Plateau. It's located in the northeast part of Chad, and the scenery here is otherworldly, and there's so many places very few have seen. 4x4 through the desert to Chad is a dream expedition. After it, we're going to visit the country of Mauritania, home to both the Sahara Desert and Atlantic coast. Mauritania is one of the most mesmerizing yet mysterious countries. It's one of the least visited places in Africa with only about 30,000 annual visitors, but I think it's such a fascinating place. The capital city is Nouakchott, and I love the fisher's port with all the boats ready to venture to the sea. One reason Mauritania has gained popularity recently is for its iron ore train that rides through the Sahara. People will jump on the trains to travel through some of the world's most desolate landscapes. As for the towns and villages, I think Tahiti is an interesting place. It's a village that is built around an oasis in the canyon. There's also this other town 2 hours away called Chinguitti. It dates back to the 11th century where it was a medieval trading center. One of the most fascinating places in the country to me is the Rishat structure. It can be seen from space, and some believe it to be the ancient city of Atlantis. After, we're going to head to visit Morocco. Located in northern Africa, Morocco was one of the most diverse and historical countries. It's home to snow-capped mountains, a mesmerizing coastline, and also the Sahara Desert. One of my favorite places is Ayet Ben Haddou. It's a historic clay brick village that dates back to the 11th century. It's been a popular filming site for movies and TV shows such as Game of Thrones. Another impressive place in Morocco is the Atlas Mountains. I mean, you wouldn't expect to find much snow in Morocco, but the Atlas Mountains are an exception. The highest peak is Toubkal with an elevation of 4,167 meters. Now when it comes to Morocco cities, Casablanca is the largest. My favorite feature of the city is the Hassan II Mosque. It was built in 1993 and its minaret stands 210 meters tall. Now as for Morocco's beaches, one of the most unique ones is Lexira Beach. It's located in southern Morocco on the Atlantic Ocean. It has red rock and this very peculiar arch. Now afterwards, we're going to head over to nearby Algeria to visit Tassili N'Ajjer National Park. Now located in southeastern Algeria in the Sahara Desert, Tassili N'Ajjer is home to some truly otherworldly landscapes. Massive rock monoliths dominate the horizon, contrasted with reddish orange sand. Now my favorite feature of the area is the massive sand dunes. They have such a unique color, contrasted with dark rocks. If you want a true Sahara Desert experience, Tassili N'Ajjer is an ideal place to go. Aside from the desert, Algeria has some incredible coastline in the north. I particularly like the area around Arwar Beach. It has calm waters and it's a scenery you'd expect to find in Italy or something. Algeria has some of the most underrated landscapes. After, we're going to visit Tunisia. Located right across the Mediterranean from Sicily and Malta, Tunisia is the northernmost country in Africa and it's home to some amazing scenery. The history of Tunisia is fascinating. The coast was settled by Phoenicians in the 12th century BC, and the city of Carthage was founded a few centuries later and was later conquered by the Romans. Today, the city of Tunis is the largest city in the country. Regarding landscapes, Tunisia has so much to offer. It has a Mediterranean coastline and some lush mountainous areas. The south of Tunisia merges into the Sahara Desert, and there's just so much to offer in this country. Now after, we're going to head up to Egypt to visit the pyramids of Giza. As one of the ancient wonders of the world, I think the pyramids of Giza are some of the most baffling and intriguing structures on Earth. To think that thousands of years ago, millions of massive stone blocks were used to build one of the largest structures on Earth, it's just hard to comprehend. Now the pyramids are full of mystery, like how in the world were they built, what was their purpose, and just many other questions. Some archaeologists believe that the pyramids served as a tomb for the pharaohs, but I think they had a different purpose. Another interesting fact about the pyramids is that the coordinates are the exact same numbers as the speed of light. I mean, whether that means something or just a crazy coincidence, it's definitely something to think about. Another fascinating place in Egypt is Abu Simbel. Located in Aswan near the border of Sudan, Abu Simbel is this fascinating city that is made up of two massive temples that are carved out of stone. They date back to 1264 BC, and it took 20 years to complete them. Over the history, the temple got covered in sand and they were forgotten, and it wasn't until 1813 when they were rediscovered by a Swiss researcher. And it must have been so insane to discover this incredible piece of history. After, we're going to head over to Saudi Arabia. Located in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia was a rather mysterious country until it opened its borders to tourists in 2019. The largest and capital city in Saudi Arabia is Riyadh. It's a major financial hub and full of fascinating skyscrapers. Another one of my favorite cities in Saudi is Jeddah. With a population just under 4 million, Jeddah is the second largest city in the country. It's built right on the Red Sea and the coastline here is amazing. One of the most interesting places to meet in Saudi is called Al Ula. It's located in the northwestern part of the country and it's home to these fascinating rock formations and tombs. The area was founded in the 6th century and is full of so much history. After we're going to head to the UAE, also known as the United Arab Emirates. The UAE is located on the Arabian Peninsula, and I think it's such a fascinating country that has exploded in popularity over the last few decades. Dubai is one of the most famous cities in the world, and it's home to the Burj Khalifa, which is the world's tallest building at 2,722 feet. Aside from the city life of Dubai, the UAE has some interesting places. You can head out to the desert. There's some really cool rock formations such as fossil rock. Another interesting place is Hatta. It's located in the northeast of the country and the mountains here are insane. There's the Hatta Dam, which is also a popular place to visit. Afterwards, we're going to head to the nearby country of Oman. Located on the easternmost region of the Arabian Peninsula, Oman is easily one of the most beautiful countries in the Middle East. It's home to endless sand dunes, historical forts, and idyllic beaches. The capital city is Muscat and it's a great starting point to explore Oman. If you like the mountains, you can visit Jebel Sham. It's the highest peak in the country with an elevation of 3,009 meters. One of my favorite regions in Oman is the southern part of the country near Salalah. Now in the area, there's the Darbet waterfall, and it's also home to some of Oman's best beaches. One of my favorites is Eftelakot Beach. It's a pristine area with rolling waves, white sand, and impressive rocky cliff as a backdrop. I mean, what more could you ask for? Oman truly is an amazing country. After, we're going to visit the nearby island of Socotra. Located in the Arabian Sea, Socotra is one of the most mystical and beautiful islands in the world. Now to travel to Socotra, it's best to go with a tour company. They will help guide you around the island and get you the proper visas and also schedule your flights out of the UAE to get there. Now one of my favorite features of Socotra is its dragon tree. It's one of the most unique looking trees I've seen and it has a red sap that looks like blood. Now the coastline of Socotra is also amazing. It has crystal clear water and white sand beaches. I particularly like Arher Beach with its sand dunes that are sandwiched between the cliffs and the coast. Socotra's scenery is truly on another level. After, we're going to visit the country of Georgia. I have to say Georgia is another one of the most underrated countries in the world. With incredible history, the Black Sea coast, and jaw-dropping mountains, Georgia has so much to offer. The capital city of Tbilisi was founded in the 5th century AD, and today it's the largest city in the country. I love how it has a perfect mix of ancient and modern architecture. Another interesting place in Georgia is the village of Ushkuli. It's one of the highest permanent settlements in Europe, and I love the medieval watchtowers that dot the village. Afterwards, we're going to visit Uzbekistan. Located in Central Asia, Uzbekistan is such a fascinating country. One of my favorite places is the city of Khiva. It's an ancient city that was founded over 2,500 years ago. The main attraction of Khiva is its minaret. It's the largest minaret in the country with a height of 56 meters, and I love the color brick. Another incredible place in Uzbekistan is Registan Square. Located in the city of Samarkand, Registan was a public square that began in the 15th century, and the square is made up of 3 madrasas, which are buildings that frame the square, and I think it's some of the most impressive Islamic architecture in the world. While we're still in Central Asia, we're going to visit the neighboring country of Kyrgyzstan. Once again, I think Kyrgyzstan is one of the most underrated countries in the world. It reminds me of Central Asia's version of Switzerland. It's home to incredible mountains and alpine scenery. One place that I particularly find fascinating is the Lake Kelsu. It's this body of water sandwiched between these 2 mountains near the Chinese border. The elevation of the lake is 3,600 meters above sea level, so it's very high up. I mean, the scenery here is just dreamy with the meadows and horses leading up to the lake. Kyrgyzstan is such an amazing country. Afterwards, we're going to head to Russia to visit Siberia. Located in eastern Russia, Siberia is one of the most massive regions in the world. It makes up more than 3/4 of Russia's land area, but only about 25% of Russia's population lives there due to its remoteness and harsh weather. One of the most fascinating places in Siberia and all of Russia is Lake Baikal. Located in southern Siberia, Lake Baikal is the largest freshwater lake in the world. It contains more than 20% of all the world's fresh water. It's also the world's deepest lake with a depth of 1,642 meters, and it's also home to one of the only freshwater sills. During the winter months, the ice can freeze to be more than 2 meters thick. One of the easiest ways to get across is with a hoverboat, or if you want a winter workout, you can ice skate on the world's largest ice rink. Another peculiar place in Russia is the Man-Pupuner rock formations. Located in the Ural Mountains, these rock pillars range from 30 to 42 meters high. There's several pillars in total, and they're considered to be one of the wonders of Russia. Afterwards, we're going to visit the Kamchatka Peninsula. This may be one of the most wild and beautiful places in Russia. It's a sea-battered land dotted with over 160 volcanoes. It's basically Russia's version of Iceland with a little bit of Alaska. The volcanic peninsula is home to bears, killer whales, and some of the most stunning landscapes I've ever seen. There are no roads from mainland Russia that lead to Kamchatka, so the best way to get there is by plane. I think this may be one of the most beautiful yet undiscovered places in the world. After, we're going to head to China to visit the magical mountains of Zhangjiajie. Located in the Hunan province, this forest is home to some of the world's most incredible scenery. The park is full of these rock pillars that ascend from the forest floor. They are covered in lush vegetation and misty clouds, adding to their magic. The rock pillars are the inspiration behind the floating mountains in the movie Avatar. Afterwards, we're going to visit the province of Guangxi. Located in southern China on the Vietnam border, this place is incredible. When I imagine China, this is the type of landscapes I think of. Lush valleys, vast cave systems, and some of the most peculiar shaped mountains. One of my favorite places is Yangzhou. Located near the city of Guilin, the area is full of the iconic karst mountains, which are made from eroded limestone. Throughout Guangxi, there are thousands of these unique shaped mountains, and I think they're so fascinating. Anyways, I just want to take a boat down the Li River and explore all that Yangzhou has to offer. Another one of my favorite places in China is the town of Zhaoqing. Located in the province of Guizhou, Zhaoqing is home to some of the most beautiful Chinese architecture. It's believed to have been founded in the 12th century by the Southern Song dynasty. I love the traditional pagodas and rice field in the center of the village. Another stunning place to visit in China is the Jiuzhaigou Valley. Located in the Sichuan province, Jiuzhaigou is easily one of the most beautiful places in China. It's a series of lakes with cascading waterfalls, accompanied with incredibly clear blue water. It reminds me of Plitvice lakes in Croatia, but even more beautiful. One feature I love is that since the water is so clear, you can see all the dead trees in the water. It's just wild places like this exist. Aside from Jiuzhaigou Valley, I think Sichuan is home to some of China's most beautiful places. The mountains here remind me of the alpine scenery you'd expect to find in Europe. Afterwards, we're going to visit Tibet. Located in southwestern China, Tibet is the highest region on Earth with an average elevation of 14,000 feet, so you best believe it's home to some of the world's most incredible mountains. The capital of Tibet is Lhasa. It's this impressive city with its history dating back to the 5th century BC. One of the most impressive features of Lhasa is the Potala Palace. It was established in 1649 and served as the winter palace for the Dalai Lama for over 300 years. One of my favorite mountains in Tibet is Mount Kailash. It's a sacred mountain for religions such as Buddhism and Hinduism and has never been climbed due to its religious significance. After it, we're going to head to Thailand. Home to all the landscapes you expect to find in Southeast Asia, Thailand is an incredible place to visit. One of my favorite spots in Thailand is the Phi Phi Islands. I first saw these islands while watching Leonardo DiCaprio's film The Beach. Now, to reach the Phi Phi Islands, you can take hour-long ferries from the nearby cities. The main islands have lots of amenities such as hotels and restaurants, and it's a great place to venture off to the other islands. I think my favorite one is Koh Phi Phi Lee. It's this insane island you can boat around and snorkel. Now, one of my favorite beaches in Thailand is Railay Beach. I mean, the scenery of this place is just insane. You can reach Railay Beach by taking a boat in. Now, my favorite feature of this place is the massive limestone rock that overlooks the area. I mean, beaches don't get more epic. Afterwards, we're going to head to the mainland of Thailand to visit Khao Sok National Park. This place is really interesting. It's this massive lake, and even though it was created as a result of a dam, the landscapes here are otherworldly. There's limestone mountains and rainforest vegetation home to animals such as the Asian elephant and tigers. If you can, I recommend staying here more than one day. You can spend the night on one of the lake's floating houses and just go hiking or boating throughout the park. After, we're going to head to the Philippines to visit Palawan. Now, when I think of the Philippines, the landscapes of Palawan come to mind. Jagged limestone islands, crystal clear waters, and phenomenal landscapes everywhere you look. I think one of the best places in Palawan is El Nido. There's just so many little islands and places to venture off to. I mean, it truly is paradise here. Another nearby place is Coron. It has very similar landscapes to El Nido, but I'd say it's better for island tours and snorkeling. I mean, both are phenomenal travel destinations. Another interesting place in the Philippines is the Chocolate Hills. Located in Bohol province, this area is home to over 1,000 hills with these unique dome shapes. The legend behind the hills is that they are the aftermath of two giants who fought each other by throwing massive stones. This part of the Philippines is also home to tarsiers, which are some of the world's smallest primates. After, we're going to head to Indonesia. With over 17,000 islands, Indonesia is home to some of the most incredible places on Earth. One of the most famous spots is Bali. Over the last decade, Bali has grown to be one of the most popular travel destinations, and with its relatively cheap prices and incredible tropical landscapes, it's easy to see why. One of the most popular places to visit in Bali is Nusa Penida. It's an island right off the coast, and it's famous for having these white cliffs coupled with perfect beaches. I think the area around Kelingking Beach is particularly stunning. Another one of the most alluring yet fairly undiscovered islands in Indonesia is Sumba. It's located in eastern Indonesia, and if you want to escape the crowds of Bali, this is an option. It's more remote and a lot less developed, which adds to its magic. The beaches are absolutely pristine, and I particularly love this area that has some rice fields called Wi Karkua. It has natural waterfalls and pools that create a dreamy setting. Afterwards, we're going to head over to Mount Bromo. Located on the island of Java, I think Mount Bromo is one of the most impressive volcanoes in the world. Mount Bromo is very active. There are several lookout points that give you an incredible view of the crater with the other volcanoes in the background. The scenery here is just unbelievable. While we're still on the island of Java, we're going to visit the waterfalls of Tumpak Siwu. It's definitely one of the most incredible waterfalls in Indonesia, as it has dozens of streams that cascade into the bowl below. It's overshadowed by the Semeru volcano, which is the same volcano you can see in the distance from Mount Bromo. After, we're going to head to the USA to visit Oregon. I have to say Oregon is one of my favorite states. It's home to massive volcanoes and countless waterfalls. We road trip through the state a few years ago and it was extremely enjoyable. I think Oregon is home to some of the best coastline in the USA. I highly recommend just driving up the 101 Coastal Highway. One of my favorite places on the drive is Cannon Beach. If you've ever seen the movie Goonies, you'll recognize it. Another beautiful spot is the Samuel H. Borden Scenic Corridor. I think it's one of the most beautiful places on the Oregon coast. Afterwards, we're going to head down to California to visit Big Sur. Located on the Pacific 101 Highway, Big Sur is one of America's most scenic drives. One of the most famous places in Big Sur is the Bixby Creek Bridge. It's just so photogenic with the coastline. Another one of my favorite spots is the Midway Falls, which is this 80-foot waterfall that cascades onto the beach below. While we're still in California, we're going to head to Santa Catalina Island. Located off the coast from Los Angeles, Catalina Island is part of the Channel Islands and it's a great place to visit if you're in California. To get there, we took a shuttle boat from Long Beach. It was about an hour ride and we went to the city of Avalon. It's this beautiful town and we rented a golf cart to drive around the area. There were some amazing lookouts and I was only able to spend a few hours here, but I'd love to come back to explore more of the island. After, we're going to head to the Hawaiian Islands to visit Kauai. Of all the Hawaiian Islands, Kauai is the oldest, making it the most beautiful and diverse. It's nicknamed the Garden Island, and when you go there, you'll understand why. One of my favorite places on Kauai is the Nepali coast. There are very few places in the world, if any, that can match the beauty of this coastline. The Nepali coast is filled with sea cliffs that rise over 1,000 meters from the ocean, contrasted with deep, narrow valleys that empty to the sea below. There are several ways to experience the Nepali coast. One of the best ways is by helicopter. It can be a little expensive, but you're able to get incredible views of the cliffs. Another great way is through a boat tour. You'll be able to experience the coast from a new perspective, and you can also jump off the boat and do some snorkeling in the ocean. It's truly phenomenal. If you're on a budget like me, there's plenty of hikes and lookout spots you can go to have an amazing experience exploring the Nepali coast. Another one of my favorite Hawaiian islands is Maui. I'd say Maui is one of the best islands if you want to relax and just have a good vacation. It's full of incredible resorts, beaches, and cliff jumping spots. One of the most famous places in Maui is Haleakala National Park. It's home to the Haleakala volcano, which is Maui's highest point at 10,023 feet. After, we're going to leave Hawaii to head up to Alaska. Known as the last frontier, Alaska is the biggest and least densely populated state in the US. It's home to some of the most incredible scenery in the country. One place I find fascinating is Brook Falls. Located in Katmai National Park, Brook Falls is one of the best places in the world to watch grizzly bears eat salmon as they swim up the river. Another one of the most wild places in Alaska is the Aleutian Islands. I think this may be one of the most incredible destinations in all the US. Located in the Bering Sea, the Aleutian Islands are made up of 300 islands. The landscapes here remind me of Iceland with its volcanic terrain and harsh coastline. After, we're going to visit Grand Tetons National Park. Located in the state of Wyoming, I have to say this is one of my favorite national parks in the US. I just love the incredible scenery and the unique jagged shape of the Grand Tetons. There's a ton of hikes to go on. One of my favorites is Delta Lake. It's a somewhat challenging hike, but when you reach the top, you're rewarded with a blue Gatorade glacier lake, and it has the backdrop of the massive Grand Teton Peak. When I went, I had to jump in the water. I have to say it's some of the coldest water I've ever been in, but nothing makes you feel more alive than plunging into some glacial water. After, we're going to head down to Florida to swim in some natural springs. One thing that I think is so cool about Florida is there's a bunch of swimming holes made from natural springs, so a lot of them are super clear and clean to swim in. What I also love about them is that some of them have manatees that come to the springs to seek warmer waters. Another cool place to visit in the state is the Florida Keys. So the Florida Keys are a coral cay archipelago located right off of southern Florida. What's really impressive is that all the islands are connected by a road, making it for one of the coolest drives in the US. When you drive on the bridges, you'll be able to see the blue Caribbean Ocean. One of the most impressive ones is the 7-mile bridge. At the time of its construction, it was one of the longest bridges in the world. The very end of the key takes you to the city of Key West. It's the most southern place in the continental US. And I was really surprised by this place. It was just such a cool little island city. After, we're going to head to the Bahamas. Looking at the Atlantic Ocean across from Florida, the Bahamas is an archipelago made up of 3,000 islands. If you love blue water and white sand beaches, Bahamas is your place. Nassau is the capital of the Bahamas, and it's a popular cruise ship stop. I really like the island of Eleuthera. It's a skinny island, and I particularly like this bridge that has the Atlantic Ocean on one side and a calm lagoon on the other. Diving in the Bahamas is also incredible. It's a great place to swim with dolphins and sharks. After, we're going to head over to the Caribbean island of St. Lucia. Of all the Caribbean islands, I think St. Lucia is the most epic. My favorite feature of St. Lucia is the Pitons, which are these jagged mountains that come straight out of the ocean. I could totally imagine Jack Sparrow sailing his ship with this as his backdrop. Afterwards, we're going to head to Mexico to visit Chiapas. Located in the southernmost part of Mexico, I think Chiapas is home to some of the most stunning scenery in the country. One of my favorite places is the Cañón del Sumidero. It's this massive lush canyon with huge walls on both sides. Another fascinating place in Chiapas is Arco del Tiempo. It's a huge stone arch that is 180 meters tall, making it one of the tallest natural arches in the world. If you want to see some of Mexico's coastline, Tulum is a great option. There's amazing beaches, and I really love the Mayan ruins that are built on the beach. After, we're going to head over to Central America to experience Belize. I think Belize is one of the most colorful and diverse places I've ever been. It's home to the second largest coral reef system in the world, and it's a land full of animals and ancient ruins. One of my favorite places in Belize is the ruin called Zunantanich. It's one of Belize's most impressive and easily accessible ruins. Zunantanich translates to Sculpture a Lady, and it was an important Mayan civic ceremonial center back around 700 AD. Another cool place in Belize's interior is Big Rock Falls. It's a really refreshing place to swim. As for Belize's islands, I really like Key Cocker. To get there, you can take a boat ride from Belize City, and it's this island that was ripped in half by a hurricane in the 60s, and the place where it got divided in two is called the Split, and it's a fun place to hang around. Now just north of Key Cocker is the island of San Pedro. It's much bigger and more developed than Key Cocker, and there's a lot to do to the island, like taking a boat out to swim with wildlife in the area. One of Belize's most iconic sites is the Great Blue Hole. When you think about Belize, this is what a lot of people think of. It's over 1,000 feet wide and over 400 feet deep. Now to get there, you can take a 3-hour boat ride from San Pedro, or you can also take a quick flight to see it from air. It's truly one of the most unique spots on Earth. While we're still in Central America, we're going to visit El Salvador. From world-class surfing to stunning volcanoes, El Salvador has so much to offer. I have a special place in my heart for El Salvador because I lived here 10 years ago. Now the capital of the country is San Salvador, and there are some cool places you can visit like the Centro Histórico. One of my favorite places in El Salvador is El Tunco. It's probably the most famous beach in the country and has amazing waves perfect for surfing. We came here for sunset and the scenery did not disappoint. Another incredible place in the country is the Santa Ana volcano. We hiked up the volcano's rim and it took us about an hour to reach the top. The landscapes up here were insane. Now at the base of the volcano, there's this lake called Lago de Coatepeque, and the scenery here is also next level. I found this restaurant that had a diving board, and it was so fun to send some jumps into the lake. After, we're going to visit neighboring Guatemala. I've been here on several occasions, and every time I'm blown away by the beauty of this country. One of the most impressive places in Guatemala is Volcán de Fuego. I think it's one of the most active and predictable volcanoes in the world, with small eruptions happening every 15 to 20 minutes. Now to get there, you hike up the neighboring volcano, and it's a challenging hike with a steep ascent, and you can spend the night up there and witness the volcano erupting in the night. Another beautiful place in Guatemala is Lake Atitlan. It's this massive lake surrounded by volcanoes, and the whole area is just surreal. If you're more into ancient history, you can visit the Mayan city of Tikal, located in the rainforest of northern Guatemala. When it comes to ancient ruins, I think this is one of the most impressive archaeological sites in all of Central America. The area was first inhabited around the 6th century BC, but Tikal really began to flourish between 200 to 850 AD as it served as the capital of one of the most powerful ancient Mayan kingdoms. At its peak, there were about 60,000 Mayans in Tikal and the surrounding area. I would love to go back in time and to see what it was like to live here back then. Afterwards, we're going to visit Costa Rica. Located between Nicaragua and Panama, I think Costa Rica is one of the best countries to visit in Central America. Costa Rica has both the Pacific Ocean and Caribbean coastlines. The country is home to amazing volcanoes, waterfalls, and some of Central America's best wildlife. One of my favorite waterfalls in the country is the Rio Celeste. It's this incredibly blue-colored waterfall that you can hike down to. As for volcanoes, I really like the Volcan Poas. It's this massive crater with a sulfuric lake at the bottom. After, we're going to head to France to visit Mont Saint-Michel. Located in the Normandy region of France, Mont Saint-Michel is easily one of the most epic places in all of Europe. Now, to get to Mont Saint-Michel, you can't drive directly to the tidal island. Instead, you can park in the lots outside and either take a shuttle or walk about 4 kilometers to Mont Saint-Michel. I definitely recommend walking if you can. As you approach the island, it's quite the experience. It made me think how people must have felt throughout the ages as they came here. When you reach the island and walk through the gates, you feel like you're taking a stroll into a Harry Potter movie. I felt like I was walking down Diagon Alley. Now, the crowning feature of Mont Saint-Michel is its abbey. Its construction began in the 10th century and it was added onto throughout the ages. We took a tour of the abbey and it was one of the coolest buildings I've ever experienced. I felt like I was walking through a real-life Hogwarts. It costs about 11 euros a person, and it can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to walk through the whole abbey. There's several lookout points that give you incredible views and vantage points of Mont Saint-Michel's bay. After exploring the abbey, I enjoyed walking above the city walls, giving us a new perspective of Mont Saint-Michel's main street. Now afterwards, the sun began to set and the tide started to come in. I was amazed by how fast the water levels were rising. I understand now why it was so dangerous for the medieval pilgrims to walk to the island. On our way back, we met up with some sheep in the fields. It was a perfect way to end our time at Mont Saint-Michel. While we're still in France, we're going to visit the island of Corsica. Located in the Mediterranean, Corsica is easily one of Europe's most beautiful and diverse islands. It's home to idyllic beaches, jagged mountains, and historical cities. One of my favorite places I visited on the island is Bonifacio. It's this medieval town that's built upon these sea cliffs. It seriously looks like it's going to fall into the ocean. I really enjoyed exploring the town, and there's also a picturesque harbor that was really nice to walk through. As for the beaches, I really love St. Anthony Beach. It's located just a few minutes drive from Bonifacio, and it took about 30 minutes of hiking to reach the beach. There was a massive rock formation that made for the most epic backdrop. If you want more of a chill beach experience, you can visit the area around Palmombagia. It's home to crystal clear, calm waters, perfect for relaxing on the Mediterranean. Another one of my favorite places in Corsica is the Torre di Turcu. It's this medieval watchtower that's perched upon these cliffs. It was a somewhat demanding hike and took us an hour to reach the tower, but we were rewarded with some insane 360 views of Corsica's coast. It would be a perfect place to spot incoming pirates back in the day. After, we're going to visit Malta. Located in the Mediterranean between Africa and Italy, Malta is an island country home to incredible scenery, culture, and history. One thing that I think is interesting about Malta is that it's basically the only place in Europe that you can become a citizen by investment within a few years and also get a second passport if you meet the requirements. Now, one of the most famous features of Malta is Valletta. With only an area of 0.61 square kilometers, it's a European Union's smallest capital city. The history of Valletta is just fascinating. It was established in 1566 after the Knights of Malta defeated the Ottomans who attempted to conquer Malta in the Great Siege. And in the year 1571, Valletta became the capital city. I really enjoyed walking the streets of the capital. All the buildings were fascinating. I was particularly impressed by the massive walls that protected the city. They're just so huge and massive, and I can't imagine how hard it was to construct them hundreds of years ago. Another one of my favorite places in Malta was Comino Island. Located between Gozo and Malta's main island, Comino is one of the main reasons I want to come to Malta. One of the more popular places in Comino is the Blue Lagoon. We had such a good time swimming here. The water was just so clear and deep. Now, one of my main goals of coming to Comino and Malta in general was finding some cliff jump spots, and Comino didn't disappoint, and there's truly no better feeling than cliff jumping into the Mediterranean. After, we're going to head to the Netherlands. Located between Germany and Belgium, the Netherlands is one of the most beautiful and well-designed countries on earth. There's a quote that says, "God created the world, but the Dutch made Holland," and after visiting, I understand why. From the canals of Amsterdam to endless tulip fields, the Netherlands will leave you in awe with its beauty and ingenuity. One of the places I wanted to visit most in the Netherlands is Kinderdijk. It's this village that has 19 windmills that are nearly 300 years old. You can tour them, and I didn't realize that people actually lived in these. It was a full-on house. Another reason I wanted to come to the Netherlands was to see the tulip fields. After seeing the windmills, experiencing the tulip fields was one of the main reasons I wanted to come to the Netherlands. The tulip season varies every year depending on the weather, but it can happen anywhere from the beginning of April to mid-May. The location of the tulip fields can also change from year to year depending if the farmer wants to plant tulips there. But regardless, there are a few areas that are famous for their tulips, such as North Holland, Noorderspolder, and Lisi. I just enjoyed driving through the countryside looking for tulip fields and windmills. After, we're gonna head to Austria to visit Hallstatt. Of all the places in Austria, Hallstatt is one of the most famous, and with reason. It literally looks like a town straight out of a Disney movie. Hallstatt began as a salt mine nearly 7,000 years ago, and today it's one of Austria's most visited villages. When we were there, we decided to take the ferry into Hallstatt. It was great because as you come into the village, you get a perfect view of it from the lake. I personally enjoyed just wandering throughout Hallstatt. There was the iconic swans hanging out on the lake, and I also enjoyed walking through the market square. It's hard to beat the magic of this Austrian village. Another one of my favorite things that I did in Austria was the sky ladder via Ferrata. Located near the magical town of Gusau, about 20 minutes drive from Hallstatt, the sky ladder is this challenging mountain climb. To start, I took up a gondola from Gosausee and I made the 20-minute hike to begin the climb. I was so excited to finally do it. It took me about 2 hours of climbing to reach the famous sky ladder. I didn't realize how big it was. I did it on a Saturday morning in fall and there was a decent amount of people, so eventually I waited my turn. I was a little nervous as I got going. It was wobbly at times, but overall it was pretty easy and you're always hooked in, so it's basically impossible to fall. After a few minutes of climbing, I made it to the end of the sky ladder. It was very exhausting, but it was an incredible experience and one of my favorite things that I did during my time in Austria. For our final destination, we're going to visit Switzerland. If anyone asks me where my all-time favorite country is, I'll probably respond with Switzerland. It's one of the most well-run places in the world and there's just something magical about the country. Everything is perfect, the only downside is that it's very expensive. One of my favorite places in the country is Lauterbrunnen. It's easily one of the most beautiful places in the world and it's the inspiration behind Rivendell. The Staubeck Falls is one of the most magical features of the village. It cascades nearly 300 meters to the valley below. If you do visit, I recommend just walking around the village and marveling at all the beauty Lauterbrunnen has to offer. Another one of the most iconic places in Switzerland is the Matterhorn Mountain. It stands at 4,478 meters and straddles both Switzerland and Italy. The town of Zermatt is located at the base of the Matterhorn and it's a great starting place to explore the area. You can take up the Gornergrat Railway to get some incredible views of the famous peak. Another one of my favorite places in Switzerland is Grindelwald. It's an idyllic village that is dwarfed over by Mount Eiger. When you go here, it's just hard to believe places like this actually exist. Well, that is it for my World Top 100. There's still so many incredible places that I couldn't include in this video, so I'll have to make a part 2. Let me know where your favorite place is in the comments below. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at shirley.films. It's Ryan, and we will see you later.